Okay guys, welcome to another shop update. As you can see, I got that other fog light that to replace the one that I had taken off of there to put on my truck that broke. Oops, you didn't see, did you? Hey, welcome to another shop update. Okay, let's get right into it. I've got a bunch of stuff to do on this shop update. I just got back from a haul, and let me cut off here and we'll get right into it. Okay, I'm showing you a shot of the front of the trailer, and there's going to be a reason for it, and I want you to take note of that piece right there. One of the things, I just came back from my haul, Minnesota, Texas, Pennsylvania, and then home. I had problems with this before, and I will show it to you, maybe not in this shop update, but in other shop updates, or in the next shop update. There's a latch in there. It uses a piece of rod to go down and engage the hook that's on the opening lever in the back. That thing keeps breaking. Originally it was a piece of 1/4-inch rod. It was actually a 1/4-inch bolt that was sticking out through there, and it goes down and engages that hook on the latching mechanism on the faceplate. It broke. I called the dealer about it, and he says, yeah, that thing breaks all the time. He says, drill it out and put a neck size up, 5/16 in, and that should hold. Well, lo and behold, the 5/16 broke too, so I'm going to see what I'll do about it, but kind of remember that. Okay, for any of you guys that really are observant, no, this is not the same shirt that I was wearing in the last shop update. If you go back and look at it, it's a different brand of it. Let's call it the sister shirt to the shirt that I was wearing in the last shop update. Let's get going. Let's jump right into the stacks on the local haul truck, and let me show you some shots of that, me installing them. There's still some work to be done, and that will be explained in the videos, but here we go. Okay, back over here to the local haul truck. What I've done is cut back the exhaust. You can see the piece of pipe laying on the floor there where I cut it back. I've also painted the Y pipe where they welded it. And I just don't want it to rust up at the weld, which it will have a tendency of doing. Not worried about the inside, because the inside will become covered with soot and stuff and kind of self-protect itself. But the outside, especially at welded seams, I'm going to paint. What I'll do is I'll end up painting this whole thing after it's installed. The only reason I'm not doing it before it's installed is because it's got to be cut and stuff like that. It'll get banged up as it gets installed. I'll do it afterwards. Okay, back over here, and I just want to give you a little shot after I've worked on it for a while. As you can see, I've got that Y pipe under there. There's some broken clamps on the floor there. I'll explain that in detail later. Now, I just ran this out. It's not supported underneath it, so hence the jack and the block of wood kind of supporting it. If I had this clamp tightened down up here, I wouldn't have to support it down there. I don't have this clamp on here or anything. What I wanted to do is kind of figure out what I'm doing. I'm going to extend out the other side, but I have to get another bracket up on the top, like this bracket here, up on the top, so that there's 2 brackets per side holding it. The one bracket would never hold it sufficiently, so it needs to have 2 brackets. The only problem is the indented areas create a kind of an issue when mounting those brackets. You know, I got it, actually I don't even have it. If I could have gotten a bracket down here, it would have been fine, but as you can see, the bracket kind of overlaps a spot. Now, it's not going to hurt anything. There's 3/8 bolts going through the cab. Those are stainless steel bolts and washers and nuts too, by the way. There's 3 of them holding that bracket on there, which is more than sufficient for it. It'd be nice to have the 4th one there just to kind of cover that thing up, but I'm not going to really worry about it because nobody will probably see it by the time that I get the bed of the truck on. There'll probably be a binder rack back there too, so nobody will really see it. But it kind of presents a problem up above in how I'm going to get it on there. Those dotted lines, those blue dotted lines, are the center line of the stack going up. So as you can see, the bracket, let me see if I can do this one-handed and get you up here and see, that's where the center line would be, and or up here. And it's really not, I mean, I'd hate to drill through that seam where it was spot welded. That's kind of why I only put the one on for now, and if I actually started working on the other side, I kind of wanted to put some thought into it. I can tighten that one bracket up after I get them both on. Tighten that one bracket on up, tighten these clamps up down here, tighten that one bracket up, and then put the other ones on a later date. It's not like I'm going to be driving over the road with it until there's some things that have got to get done. Again, the bed's got to go on. As you can see, there's oil on the floor. I've got a seal leaking on the rear. So I'm going to replace that seal. Well, I replace the seal, as long as I've got the thing apart to replace that rear seal, I might as well replace the seal and the bearings at the same time. But anyways, yeah, there it is. That elbow over there isn't tightened yet. Let me just take you over there and I'll show you. Again, there's that header paint, that high heat header paint. I did paint that one piece of pipe. I had to cut 1 foot section of pipe to get it over, to extend it out so that it was in the center line. But I just painted it. It was a piece of pipe off of the part that I had cut off. So I wanted to I went over it with a wire wheel first, and then just painted it because it was used pipe, and I wanted to clean it up and get a good paint on it, unlike the other ones which are newer. And I'll just get under there with the paint and paint those afterwards. You know, I kind of paint areas that I'm suspect of, like that weld on the Y pipe. I wanted to make sure that got covered good before I put it up under there. But I'll paint the rest afterwards, like I said previously. Now, I still have to put the brackets on the top, but what I've done is got it all together. I'm just going to take it outside because I've got some other things that I need to do in the shop here. And I still kind of want to think about how I'm going to put that bracket on the top because of the indented panels. stuff on the stacks, it's grease. It's kind of like a cosmoline type substance that they had on it. They've all got to be washed off, and I'll probably ceramic coat those stacks. I'll bring it back. Okay, in the intro I told you, or maybe in a later clip, I told you that I had just got back from a trip to Minnesota, Texas, Pennsylvania. This next clip is going to be about some of the equipment that I had here that had to go to Minnesota. I took a haul to Minnesota. From Minnesota, I went down to Texas to pick up some other stuff and then deliver that to Pennsylvania. But here is a clip about some of the stuff that I had to pick up for the Minnesota haul. So these are two generators that I had to go down to Kentucky, northern Kentucky, just south of Cincinnati, actually. I had to go down to Kentucky and pick them up from a warehouse down there. Cable company, I shouldn't say a cable company, a company that supplies cell phone towers, cell phone tower builders, repair people, stuff like that. They have all sorts of equipment that is related to cell phone towers in this warehouse. Apparently they ship it all over the United States from this warehouse. But they had these generators. They probably came off of a cell phone tower someplace. This one is a natural gas one. I think it's only 20 kW. It's fairly small. Piping isn't sticking out still. But this one over here, he says, is a diesel generator, and that large black thing on the bottom of it is actually the diesel tank. And as you can see, it looks like it might be leaking a little bit. But he says, I've got to repair that. I really didn't want to take this thing, but he says they gave me such a sweet deal on the two of these machines. I really didn't want to take it, but he says the diesel engine needs some repair. So I kind of saw these things sitting there, and he had already told me that this thing had to be repaired, so I didn't really look at it. But I got it back, and I opened it up, and here's what I found. The head's gone. The head is missing. It's not in here. When I first opened it up, this valve cover was kind of just laying up there. And I kind of thought that they had pulled the valve cover off, but then I pulled that valve cover off and noticed that there was rags there. Pulled the rag back and there was no head. Then I started looking around. No head in here. Not only is a head in all the valves and rocker arms, everything like that missing, the starter is gone. I'm going to say probably that's where the pump for the injector pump was. I'll take you around the other side. Here's the air cleaner. I found the exhaust manifold. The exhaust manifold is down there. But yeah, it's been scavenged terribly. I had to call the guy up this morning and say, listen, John, what you bought I don't think is what you thought you were getting. Yeah, here's the exhaust manifold. But the turbo is gone. It looks like the alternator's gone. It looks like the pump is gone. And not only that, they scavenged stuff out of the generator electronics too. Yeah. Man, he wasn't happy. But I guess you live and learn. Okay, let me get into the broken clamps that I talked about in the video on the stacks. here are the two broken clamps, and as you can see, one of the legs on the clamp bolts broke. Now, what I did is put them on with this 3/8 impact, and this is a Mac. I think it's a BWP or something like that, 138. It's a 3/8 impact. Potential foot-pounds of is 325 on it, so it's not really high. I forget what size they are. They're probably equivalent to a 3/8, even though they're metric. The bolts didn't break when I put them on with the impact. I went to take them back off again, and that's when they broke. So it's kind of bizarre. Now, you may wonder why I'm using chrome. The chrome ones were cheaper than the stainless steel. That's why I use chrome. The only reason why I use chrome, but when I say cheaper, they were substantially cheaper, probably in the neighborhood of $5 a clamp cheaper. But anyways, they should have never broke, even with 300 foot-pounds of torque on them. So I went to take them back off again, and they wouldn't come off with a 3/8 impact. So what I did is put a 3/8 ratchet in a socket on it, and that's when they broke on taking them off. Now, what I did is I didn't want to throw these things all away and get new ones, because to me they seemed kind of defective. But what I ended up doing is putting grease on them and then tightening them down using the grease on them, and they worked fine. I can put them on tight enough to where it actually expands this metal out without them breaking, and then I tried to take them back off again, and they worked just fine. So just a kind of word of warning there: if you do happen to use some clamps like this, try putting a little grease on them before you try and impact them down or tighten them real tight with a wrench. But there's that. Okay, regarding the generators, the guy that bought that generator, that the parts were all missing to, the diesel generator, he called his broker up, and his broker agreed to take that generator back, even though it wasn't his. He was just brokering a deal from one party to the other party, which was the guy that I was hauling it for. He agreed to take it back and exchange it for another generator. So, ironically, this swap was going to take place down in Pennsylvania, somewhere down near Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it'll become apparent when I start talking to you about that place. It's near Lancaster. I had a run to make down to Gettysburg, not generators related, something else. So I took a load of steel and stuff from here down to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So I told the guy, I says, listen, as long as I'm down there, I'll just throw that generator, defective generator with the missing parts, onto my trailer and take it down to that place in Pennsylvania. So when I get there, I was kind of expecting a normal business of generators, used generators, and it turned out to be that these people were Amish. It was a Amish farm. Well, it's not a farm. They repair generators, and they repair a lot of generators. There are probably 200, maybe between 1 and 200 generators sitting in their yard. They had all sorts of buildings there. One of the buildings was a repair building, and they had 2, and it looked like the spots for 4 techs being in there working on generators at any given time. It was clean, it was nice. Now, I'm not sure if they were Amish or maybe Mennonite, but I'm going to show you some pics here. I'll throw them in here. And it's kind of just the open to the repair shop. I didn't want to get these guys involved in the pictures, because you know how Amish are with you taking pictures of them. So I just kind of showed some of the buildings. The opening to the generator repair shop is where the generator's sitting in front of the overhead door. Yellow generator in front of the overhead door. That's the repair shop. Then there was the yard. I show you a picture of a barn with their horse and buggies in there. The buggies are in there. The horses are in stables or out in the field someplace. And then there's a forklift on a big generator, kind of a generator the size of the one that I took out that had that 28-liter Cummins engine on it. But anyways, it was a pretty fascinating place, and it just worked out that I did that. Then I had a other instance. He says, "Well, I need to get more than those 2 generators on the load to bring up to Minnesota because it's not really cost effective for you to haul them all the way up here to Minnesota. So let's see if we can find something else." I had a run that I had to make to West Virginia from a local place. It was again a generator going to a resort. The guy from Minnesota calls me up and he says, "I've got a couple of generators that I can pick up in South Carolina, I think." And I says, "Okay, I can do it for this much because I'm going down to West Virginia anyway." So I get down there, and they had the generators, 2 generators. The guy told me 3, but they only had 2. And then they had 2 skids of UPS equipment, which is uninterrupted power supply equipment. In other words, they look like huge battery or huge computer cases, like a home computer type of situation, except they're bigger, and they have battery packs inside of them to kind of, if you lose power, this battery pack gets converted like in a phase converter type of situation to power until the generator kicks on. It's called an uninterrupted power supply. But they had these. It turned out to be a fiasco. The 2 generators were out kind of in lots, not in the building. They had no way of getting it, so the guy that brokered this deal actually rented a forklift and had it delivered there the day that I was going to go down and pick them up, and I could get them with that, thinking that they were in a warehouse, only to find out they were out in the field, and it wasn't like a all-wheel drive forklift. It was just a normal forklift, and it kept getting stuck. I'll show you a picture, pick and pick of that forklift. I didn't take any. One of the generators is sitting in front of it, but I didn't take any pictures of the other stuff. But so it all kind of worked out on that trip to Minnesota. Then I had to go down to Texas, but I'll bring you back for that story. Okay, I'm just showing you a little shot of the front of my truck there. That is a light that was broken where I had taken the fog light off of the International and put it over here and got a new one for the International, as you've seen in kind of the intro to this shop update. Okay, let's talk about my Texas run. There's going to be, I had to go to Texas to pick up, there was 3 generators in Texas. Now, these are the tow-behind type of industrial generators that they take out to, these happen to be for oil fields. They take them out to oil fields to run equipment, probably when they're drilling and stuff like that. 2 of them were 170 kWs, one of them was a 130 kW. The guy says, I'm not sure about the weight of these things. I can get a weight off of the internet, but he says I'm not sure how accurate it is because the weight isn't listed for the entire unit. The weight is listed for the generator and a separate weight listed for the trailer. And I'm not totally sure that the trailer that I pick up on the internet is the trailer that's being provided from the pictures that I was seeing at the auction site. And I says, okay, so we've got 3 generators and you're kind of unsure of the weight of them. So let me go down there. And he says, you might only be able to bring back 2 of them because of the weight. I said, okay, well, let me see when I get there. I go down to Texas. This place is in a town called Godley, Texas, and it's an auction yard. I get down there, and the guy takes me back and shows me these generators, and the problem with the generators wasn't the weight of them. I mean, that could have been an issue. The problem was the size of these generators. I, or the guy that bought them, had no idea of how big these trailers were that these generator units were mounted on. But I only was able to physically fit 2 of these generators on my trailer, and I probably only had at the most 3 to 4 feet of space left on the trailer from front to back because of the length of these generators. So we loaded 2 of these generators onto my trailer, and I started back, and I had a problem just outside of Dallas, but I'm not even going to get into that issue. It wasn't a mechanical problem. I got pulled over, but by the police, a DOT inspection guy, and he let me go. He let me go. There wasn't an issue with my trailer, my rig, or anything else. Maybe sometime I'll get into the issue with what it was, but he let me go. The issue was whether I'm not even going to get in. I'll get into it some other time. I get up around Kentucky. Well, let me just go there. I get up to Kentucky. Now, you all know that I had an issue with the bouncing of the trailer. Now, the trailer wasn't really bouncing like it was before because it was pretty well weighted. But it was kind of a slow rolling bounce now. But I get up to Kentucky, exactly about 25 miles south of Cincinnati. And it's nighttime, very early morning. And we came upon an accident, and the traffic was backed up probably 3 miles. So there was no panic stop or anything like that, because I'm going to show you what happened here, or tell you what happened. We came to a stop, and as you know, when you get into places like this, you're stopped, you probably move ahead 3 feet, you stop again. So I was in first gear. The lowest gear that I have is like a creeper gear. And when I went to start up, there was this thumping noise. And I'm thinking, okay, because I had just previously, I had slept overnight down in, I forgot where it was, to tell you the truth. But I had slept overnight, and before I left, when I got fuel, I had checked all of my straps and bindings and everything like that, and everything was good. But when I heard this thumping noise, I'm thinking, okay, maybe one of the straps broke and the load is shifting a little bit when I move forward. And it also happened when I applied the brakes and stopped, too. There was a thumping noise. And I'm thinking, man, I'm not sure what it was. So what I would do is I'd look in the rearview mirrors and watch the load as I crept forward and heard that thump, and I saw nothing in the load shifting in either unit. Nothing at all. And I'm thinking, that's funny, because when I start creeping forward, there's like a momentary delay before the thump happens. So the truck is actually moving a little bit before the thump actually starts happening. And so I'm thinking, is it the hitch of some problem with the hitch? So I look in the rearview mirror, the windshield rearview mirror out the rear window, which I normally never look out when I got the trailer attached because you can't see anything behind you through that. And I'm watching the hitch as I start to accelerate forward, and it doesn't move until milliseconds or a second after I start creeping forward before the hitch moves, and there's that thump. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So I stopped, got out with a flashlight, looked at the hitch, and the hitch is bent. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So now I'm in the passing lane. I've got traffic backed up in front of me, and it's probably as much traffic behind me. So I put my right-hand turn signal on, and a truck lets me over, and I get onto the shoulder of the road, and I get out and I take a look at this thing, and I can tell right away that the hitch post is broken. So I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to put some pics of what I saw in here over here when I got out, and then I'm going to go over and show you a video of the post that I took out laying on the shop floor here. So here is the hitch post, and this is, it's hard to do it because, but that is the bend in it I saw. So now, I'm not going to go into all the detail of this because it was a long, drawn-out process. I told you this was early morning. It was probably about, it was probably around 5 o'clock in the morning when I got over to the shoulder of the road, and I started trying to resolve how I'm going to fix this. I started looking up Diamond Seed trailer dealers in the area and tried calling them. Of course, nobody was open, but I left messages. So then I called the dealer that I bought it from, which is in eastern Ohio. Now, I take note that I'm about 25 miles south of Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is kind of in southwestern, south being right on the border of Kentucky, southwestern Ohio. I tried finding a dealer around there. The only two dealers that I could find, one was in Indiana, close to me, one was in Kentucky, in Lexington, Kentucky. I tried calling both of them and left messages. So I called my dealer up. Make a long story short, I got back to both of those dealers. None of them had it. Now this is a 30,000 pound hitch. Look at that wall thickness on that tube. None of them had one of these posts in stock. I got a hold of my dealer, and he says, yeah, I've got some in stock, but my dealer is over 300 miles from where I am. I said, do you have any suggestions of where I can get something closer? And he says, well, there's a place in Columbus that I deal with all the time. Let me call them up and see if they have them. It's called Redneck Trailer Sales or Redneck Trailer Supply or something like that. They had it. That's what you saw in the video. I showed you the post in the video on the trailer. That's what they had. So I had to detach. Of course, I had detached it. Now, here's where this thing did not just come out. I pulled the pins and pulled the set screws out, loosened the set screws, pulled the pin, didn't come out. I ended up taking a hammer and kind of hitting on it and to get it to start moving, and it did start moving. Now, what I had done is I had to drive the truck out from underneath it, but I left the cord attached to it so that there was four-way flashers on it, because I'm sitting on the side of an interstate and there's all sorts of traffic going into Cincinnati at rush hour in the morning. Trucks, cars, everything going in there. So I wanted to leave the four-way flashers on because the trailer is the tailing edge of this thing, the leading edge of the traffic coming at me. I wanted to leave the four-way flashers on the trailer as long as I could. So I moved the truck out from under it. Still had the hitch or the cable attached for the four-way or for the lights, brakes, four-way flashers, etc. Got this thing moving, and I hit it the last time, and it just dropped out. And of course, what's it drop onto but the cable, and it severed the cable off of it. So I had to. What I had ended up doing is going to Columbus, detaching the trailer. I had already detached the trailer. Went to Columbus and picked up the hitch post that you saw on the trailer in the video, the previous clip, and supplies to rewire the cable back together. But that was it, and I'm going to flip you over and show you how close it came from this thing coming off entirely. As you can see, there is cracks through there. So I was probably within minutes of losing that whole thing and losing the trailer. But anyways, I got that on there. But this isn't the end of the issue, because I think some of this is caused by the bouncing. And I don't know whether I told you. In the background there, you see a spring, and you see the attachment point to the spring sitting there. That is also off of the trailer, and that broke on another trip. These two issues, I think, are directly related to that bouncing, but I'm going to bring you back for more of that. I'm going to throw pics and pics up here, but anyways, that's going to do it for the shop update. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this. Man, one of the guys said to me, let me just add this here. Somebody said to me, he says, you know, Bulldog is supposed to be a very good trailer. They provide not only hitch post assemblies, provide the entire hitch assembly, but they also provide jacks, the leveling jacks or jack stands for the trailers, and they're supposed to be a very good company as far as that. But look at what that label says there. Made in China. Guy says to me, yeah, Chinese steel right there. Is that the issue, Chinese steel, or is that that bumping of the trailer the issue with causing something like that, or is the issue the Chinese steel? But I've also had that spring break. Is that Chinese steel? Who knows? That spring was off of a Dexter axle, so that spring is provided by Dexter axles. Again, both of the components that are broken on the trailer are not related to the trailer manufacturer. They're both outside suppliers. Spring, Dexter axle, hitch post, Bulldog. Anyways, hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment.